Hi, I'm Marc Megna, a team muscle tech, athlete, performance coach, and I'm also a strength and conditioning coach, and I'm also a former NFL linebacker. When I was younger, I was very insecure, awkward, clumsy, and I was very lazy. I actually didn't like any part of exercising. I think when you're a bit overweight, you have a very low self-opinion of yourself, and you know what happens is you want to stay away from those environments that might challenge you in a physical way. And at one point, I think I got to such a low in my life, in my childhood, that I really wanted to change things around, and I wanted to start participating and not just be on the sidelines. So I asked my grandfather to help me out, and at that time he was training bodybuilders, local bodybuilders, and he trained the first ever Mr. Universe winner. He took me aside, gave me some very basic things to do, bench pressing, you know, curls, push-ups, sit-ups, things like that, and I enjoyed it very much, and he made me feel comfortable, and I think that's everything, and that kind of started me on the path to health and fitness. I was raised in a single-parent home. My mother raised 2 boys by herself. She had several jobs. She didn't have too much time on her hands, but what she did make time for was, you know, paying attention to our needs and our feelings, our emotions, and she would always be there to support us. She was that person that told us, my brother and I, that you know, you can do whatever you want to do. Now, you're gonna have to do the work, and she would always say, it's not gonna be easy, but it will be worth it someday, but you can do it. And I had a lot of tough times in my life. When I went to high school, I had you know, learning disabilities, dyslexia. I'd have to go to a ton of tutoring, and athletically, I mean, I was just worried about making the team, forget about playing, starting. And I know that I'm probably the only kid that's really going to the gym every day, lifting every day, running every day. Because a lot of people did those things, but not every day and not all the time. But for me, because I wasn't an athlete, that got me in the game, not ahead of the curve. And then when I got there was a lot of parity. I wanted to be the very best at my position. Then being the best at position, the best as a defensive player. Then being the best in the team. And I just had to work hard at the little steps along the way to achieve those big goals. I didn't even think about going to college. I wanted to join the Marines. That was my goal. Then a coach came up to me who was recruiting someone else, and he said, you know, you can play college football. Do you realize that? You can get a free education if you keep showing people how important this is to you, and you give it everything you have every single day. And when he said that to me, all of a sudden it was a reality. Now I know it's possible because someone else sees it, not just me. I went there because the head coach had such great energy that when he left our house, his name was Jim Reed. When he left my home, I said, I have to go to the University of Richmond. And my mother looked at me and goes, you really don't have a choice. You have to go there. And I didn't have a choice because that was the only school that really wanted me. But when I got to college, I was so bad at the schoolwork. I think I got a 1.6 GPA when I got there. I contemplated quitting, giving up a scholarship where a school that cost $50,000 a year to go to. I almost thought about quitting, and my mother wrote me a long letter. And the premise of that letter, I saved it, and I have that pic on my desktop of my computer. It says, dream big, never quit. And she was telling me that you just gotta hang in there. And if you can hang in there, you give it everything, you're gonna be surprised where you finish. I ended up turning it around later on. I actually graduated like 3.0, and it was the hardest thing I ever did. And football-wise, man, when I walked in the door, I think I weighed 219 pounds, and he told me, and I was a linebacker, he told me, you're gonna play defensive lineman, and it wasn't like end or like, it was nose guard. Those are the guys who weigh 300 pounds. So I said, Coach, I can't do it. And he said, I don't ever want to hear that word out of your mouth again. You can absolutely do it. Get out of my office. And every year it was 230, 240, 250, 260. And I grew, and I lifted weights, and I got stronger. I went in there benching 300 pounds, I left benching 450. Power clean 450 pounds, squatted 700 pounds, because he believed in me. And I said, I don't know if I can play defensive line in the NFL, but I don't care. I want to be the very best in the country at this position now. If that means tackles, if that means sacks, if that means productivity, if that means energy, whatever it is. When the NFL scouts came around, I said, well, he's really not that big. Maybe he can't play defensive line, but he can play linebacker. So draft day, I'm sitting around, and I get a call on my phone, and I answer the phone, and I say, hello, this is Marc Megna. He said, Marc, do you know who this is? And I knew who it was, I recognized the voice, but I've never talked to this person in person or on the phone in my entire life. He says, this is Bill Parcells from the New York Jets. And it was funny because I was a very serious, strict, tough voice, but I was crying. And he couldn't see me crying, thank God. And I said, "Hello, coach, how are you?" He said, "I'm pretty good. We're thinking about taking you with this next pick. How do you feel about that?" I said, "I feel amazing about that." He said, "Can you play linebacker for me?" I said, "Coach, I can play linebacker." He said, "Can you play special teams?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Can you rush the passer?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Welcome to the New York Jets." It was like one of the greatest moments of my life. I worked my whole life just to hear that I was good enough to do it. I went into camp with the New York Jets, and I realized that not only was I playing a position that I hadn't played in 4 years, but the guys that were playing my position on the New York Jets, Marvin Jones, All-Pro, Mo Lewis, All-Pro, James Farrier, All-Pro, Brian Cox, All-Pro. That's 4 on one team. I'm a nose guard from a Division I AA school who hasn't played the position in 4 years. So you could take that 2 ways. That's a hell of a compliment from one of the best coaches that ever coached the game, but it's also a hell of a challenge. So I remember him bringing me into a room and saying, "You know, Marc, you're here for a reason. You might not be an All-Pro in the New York Jets, but you are here to work hard and you're here to push other people to be their very best." He said, "You might not end up playing here, but you might end up playing for another team." It turns out I gave everything I had, and he was right. I was with the Jets for a little bit, then I was released, and then I basically was miserable. I cried for half a day, and then later on that day, as you go from worst to first, I actually was called by the New England Patriots. Pete Carroll was the coach then. The New England Patriots picked me up, my hometown team. 3 hours later, I'm in the office, front office of the New England Patriots. I'm signing a contract to play for the New England Patriots. And then next year, Pete Carroll was let go, and Bill Belichick came in, who was my defensive coordinator at the New York Jets. So I had previous experience. I mean, he liked my game, he liked the way I worked, and he knew at the very least that I wasn't going to embarrass anyone and I was going to be a solid component of his team, even if it was as a reserve player or a special teams player. So I played with them for a year, then I was released. I went to the Cincinnati Bengals, and then back to the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick. And in between, I was playing NFL Europe. My first year with the Barcelona Dragons in Spain, my second year with the Berlin Thunder. After my NFL career concluded, I went up to play in Canada for the Montreal Alouettes. Played 5 years for the Montreal Alouettes. So I've had a heck of a whirlwind in regards to professional football. And now I'm, doing more private and personal training. For several years, I worked at a performance center, Bommarito Performance, where I worked under Pete Bommarito. Spent a few years there training, being on a team rather, who worked with over 300 professional athletes from all sports, football, baseball. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have a great group of clients, and they love to. I think you attract what you are. They love to train just like I do. My general philosophy is that whatever I'm doing in regards to strength and conditioning, I want to make sure that I can do something with it. I don't want to be the person that looks like a superhero but can't do any kind of superhero things. I want to be able to run, I want to be able to swim, I want to be able to do an obstacle course, do a race, jump in a 5K and run under 18 minutes. That's important to me. I've done triathlons, I've done the courses, I did the Empire State Building run in New York City, 86 flights, 1,572 steps. And a week later, I did this Spartan Race, which was 8.5 miles, 25 obstacles. I'm never going to be the best bench presser, or the best squatter, or the guy who wins the race, but I want to be good at many things. I train every day, but I'm doing strength 4 to 5 days a week, and body part training 4 to 5 days a week. I'll do HIIT training 3 days a week, and I'll do 2 days I do steady state, or I might do a long run, I might do a swim. And I'll do 1 day where I actually do an active recovery. So it's something that, to me, I don't want to say something that's fun, because it's all fun to me. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. But I also want to do things that give my body an opportunity to heal or recover, because we know training in the gym is very important, but your recovery is everything. I probably go to bed about 11:30, 12, wake up at 3:45 every day. Start my workout about 4 o'clock, 4:15 in the morning. I train till 6, get my first client at 6 a.m. I go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, transition to the next place. Or I go 11 and 12, and then transition to the next place. And then I'll try to get maybe an hour break in there somewhere. Get my workout in the morning, bang out a bunch of clients during the day, try to get one at the end of the day, midday. And these aren't long workouts, they're usually an hour. And I try to do 2 of those a day. I work strength, I work body parts, but I might start off my body part workout, if I'm doing legs for example, with a floor clean or a hang clean or a deadlift, things like that. Compound movements, I'll throw an exotic compound movement or a kettlebell activity in with my body parts to make sure that I can apply the strength with movement. You have movements and you have the muscle. So if I strengthen the muscle, I want to be able to implement the usage of that muscle. So I try to go back and forth. When I say go back and forth, I mean if I'm working the movement, I'm going to work the movement. If I'm working the muscle, I'm going to work the muscle. Sometimes I'll do an activity where I'll do a row, a slow controlled row, but my next might be a speed band row. So I'll do a speed band row, which I can implement a faster movement and put that muscle into force production. Each person is very, very specific. Sometimes I get a kick out of people say, eat oatmeal, it's great for you. Or eat egg whites, that's great for you. Well, it's not great for me if I'm allergic to eggs. And if I have a food sensitivity to oatmeal, I probably shouldn't be eating oatmeal. So you could be getting great information, but it might not be information that's best suited for you. Don't forget, we're still trying to improve our quality of life. We talked about training, now we're trying to improve our quality of life through nutrition. How do we do that? By putting those optimal ingredients in our bodies at the proper timing to make sure that we can take our bodies, minds, and energy performance to the next level, whatever that is and whatever our intention is. I have 6 meals, whole food meals a day. Those foods are, animal proteins consisting of chicken, white fish, salmon, turkey, lean red meat, bison, greens are kale, arugula, broccoli, spinach. Complex carbs consist of steel-cut oats, sweet potatoes, quinoa, buckwheat, barley, millet. Healthy fats, hemp oil, flaxseed oil, fish oil, and I go with supplementation, different vitamins, different minerals. I did probiotics, digestive enzymes, things like that. But they're all, high quality foods that are putting me in a position to give me energy for the day, for the workout, for recovery. So if your body has to work overtime and 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times as hard to break down food that are foreign substances in the body, well then that's less energy that can be used towards workouts, life, thinking, and recovery, because it takes energy to do all those things. So if I put the more harsh, toxic, or chemically driven foods that are challenging to break down, my body is going to be under constant stress. It could raise cortisol, it could raise inflammation, and it's going to make sure that my body isn't efficient at recovering. At the end of the day, you want to recover in the most efficient way possible. So you can train, recover, and get back in there. The idea is to get back in. Put yourself in a position to be successful with the food you eat, with the training you do, and make sure that you're not compromising all your results by eating a poor diet. You can't out-train a poor diet. If it's going to stress you that much to follow a specific diet, I don't suggest doing it. I suggest making small, little improvements and curtailing your habits just a little bit. Start that way, and you'll feel much better, and it's more realistic. I don't want you to stay away from every single food. I want you to eat something green at every meal. For example, drink some water, drink more water. Try not to eat too much at night. Try to limit sugary foods. Try to limit junk food. Just take one of those and implement it in your diet. If you start to do that, it's going to be less stressful. It's going to be more realistic. And then you're going to make proper progressions. Our job is to help you improve your quality of life, improve your well-being. And I think that's how it should be done. Supplementation for me, can it make or break your training? Absolutely. I look at it as pre, during, and post workout. The more you train, the more you stress your body, the more supplementation you need to make sure that you put yourself in a position to recover properly, to make sure that you can endure the day, never mind getting ready for the next workout. I do use whey protein. It's a large part of my diet. I think it's huge. I also use arginine, beta-alanine, creatine, BCAAs, glutamine, but those are all things that I think are staples of training, and they put me in a wonderful place to feel good for my next workouts and recover. I do use those things, and I do encourage those things for anyone who's trying to improve in a performance-based setting or a muscle hypertrophy and body composition setting. If someone's trying to put on weight, they're going to need specific supplementation to put on weight. If someone wants to reduce body fat or improve body composition, they're going to need a certain panel of nutrients and supplementation to get them there. What am I trying to do? What's my intention? Am I a bodybuilder? Am I a powerlifter? Am I a, strength-based athlete, an endurance-based athlete, performance athlete, an explosive short burst athlete, whatever it may be. And then from there, I know what's going to help me in regards to the supplementation. So that's all in my training, nutrition, and supplementation. For more on Marc Megna, you can find me at Marc Megna on Twitter or my Facebook page at Marc Megna. For more on the training and in-depth info and the training tips we discussed today, you can look at the NFL Combine Trainer on Bodybuilding.com. And for other news, training tips, articles, and pieces of information we can use for our training supplementation, check back in at Bodybuilding.com.